it's hard to be humble. Since the little pro taught me to play, I can't wait to get to the golf course. My game just gets better each day. Every time that I just swing the handle, everyone hollers out, "You the man." Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, but I'm doing the best that I can. And that's the truth, pro.
In Volume 3, Shot Making Procedure, Mac Davis, very talented player and a very talented performer, is our student, and he's going to help us bridge the gap between the practice tee and the golf course, because on the golf course it's entirely another world than the practice tee, and we need a little help getting from tee to golf course, and it's in the form of a 4-step shot-making procedure, where first we consider the ball and the way it lies and how we treat it. Second, we define our target. And third, we picture what we want, with club selection being part of this third step. And fourth and finally, having selected that club, having pictured the shot, having our mind set on the target and our eye on the ball, we swing the handle of the club as the fourth step, because we need a swing thought that lets us produce. We're going to take this game a little bit further today. We're going to try to understand what we should be doing when we play a golf shot insofar as the shot-making procedure. But first things first, I'd like to see you exercise that swing of yours and hit me a shot or two.
Well, I'll try.
We'll talk about the swing and we'll talk about the shot.
Okay,
So
here we go.
tee that thing up and let it rip. A little practice swing makes us feel good, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
You're going to swing the handle of that golf club from one side to the other now. Go ahead and give it a go. That's a great looking shot. The ball is about 10 feet left of center on a dead B line. So I'd say that you did it about precisely what you wanted to do there, didn't you?
Thank you.
The swing was good and the sense of rhythm was very good.
Well, you know, being a musician, you get a sense of rhythm. I was always told to think "Rock-a-Bye Baby," you know, or something like that when I'm playing. But hitting it solid's a different deal.
And you've been around a lot of good players, and you know the golfing jargon, the terminology that goes with it, the buzzwords, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
One of those has to do with the different worlds that we live in as a golfer. There are actually 3 different worlds that a golfer finds himself in. One dealing with the pre-shot routine, another dealing with his setup when he gets to the ball, and a third dealing with what happens in relation to our target out there.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about those 3 different worlds, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
What about the pre-shot routine now? What do you do in your pre-shot routine to prepare you for the shot?
I guess I imagine where the shot's going to go. I envision the shot, and I stand back and take a look at it. I'm not one to really get behind the thing, which I should, and line it up. I just get my stance. I take a couple of waggles, and hopefully try to just get me a little hitch going and just hit it smooth. So that's pretty much my pre-shot routine.
When you set up to the ball, a number of things happen simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn to do those things way back when.
Mm-hmm.
But the essence of what you're doing is making yourself comfortable, effective, and perhaps more consistent when you set up to the ball.
Right.
So you want to incorporate consistent things within your setup. I know you can hit it, see, and I know you're very good on the practice tee. But do you ever have a problem when you leave the practice tee and head to the golf course?
Yeah, of course I do. I think everybody does. I
different
think we're all
world out
pros,
there.
or at least we think we're pros on the practice tee, but depending on the size of the bet or the size of the gallery, or just how close the first tee is to the plate glass window at the men's grill, I think we all get nervous when we get on the first tee. And so I know that I do. And sometimes that's the most relaxed I can be, but normally I hit it much better on the range.
And wonder why that is.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's your job to tell me.
All right. But we want to be able to go from the practice tee where you're good and you know you're good and you feel comfortable. We want to be able to go to the golf course and transport that swing that you believe in and the shots that you're able to play and play against old man par when we get out on that golf course, right?
Right.
So you know what we need? We need some kind of bridge that covers the gap between the practice tee and the golf course. The practice tee is one world, the golf course is entirely a different world. So we need a bridge that lets us go over that gap and also lets us come back again from the golf course back to the practice tee so we can work on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the form of what I'd term to be shot-making procedure. And shot-making procedure is beyond the pre-shot routine. It's actually beyond the setup that you demonstrated when you set up to the ball to make the last swing.
Uh-huh.
But it deals with the target out there. It deals with the shot we're about to play. So we have a little 4-step procedure that every player, whether he's a 100 shooter, whether he's a scratch player, a low handicap player like you are, a beginning type player, he needs to know what he's supposed to be doing on the golf course relative to his target. And the steps are these in order. First, you must consider the ball and how it lies and how Mac Davis makes contact with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, don't take that for granted because there are certain things that you can't take for granted. For instance, if you teed the ball up and you swung from beneath upward through the ball, you might create a topspin effect that does not allow the ball to get off the ground. On occasion, you've done that. And most golfers certainly have done that. So we need to first understand what happens with the ball. And before you could plan to do anything with a golf shot, the first consideration is the lie of that ball.
Right.
And the ball itself lies in different ways. It may be sitting on the tee, in the case of the teeing ground, but out on the fairway, it could be sitting on top of the grass, could be sitting down in a divot, could be down in the rough grass, could be on bare dirt.
Mm-hmm.
So before you could plan to do anything else with the shot itself, you've got to consider the lie of the ball.
Right.
And noticing the lie of the ball also can have a somewhat relaxing effect, because like when you toss this ball up in the air and catch it as I'm doing, I'm focused on the ball and my subconscious is reacting to the act of catching this ball. Well, we're going to do the same thing when we play a golf shot. We're going to zap in on that ball with our eyes, but then we're going to play the shot that we have in mind.
Right.
So having considered the lie of the ball and having focused or looked at the ball, we then understand how we make contact between club and ball.
This
we
is step 2
understand
now?
the connection between club and ball.
Mm-hmm.
So this is step 1.
We're still in step 1.
Step 1. Now step 2 would deal with what? What would you think?
I don't know. Step 2, just swing at it and hit it.
The game in its simplest sense is playing the ball from point A to point B. Point A is where the ball lies. Point B would be what? Would be the target out beyond you somewhere.
Absolutely.
And this is where our shot-making procedure comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's say in the case of a tee shot, let's say you picked yourself, you know what your range is better than any other person.
Mm-hmm.
So assuming you're a 260-yard driver and you've got yourself a fairway that's relatively wide and it's bending a little bit in this case from left to right, what do? You pick yourself an area or even a spot out there, roughly 250, 260. And Mac Davis fixes that in mind. He has that place in mind as a target. Okay? Now, with that target in mind, a lot of information comes. Information in the form of the distance from the target to the ball or from the ball to the target. Information in the form of the terrain, whether it be level or whether it be uphill, downhill. Information in the form of wind factor. In this case, we have a little slight breeze coming in our face. That has to be factored in because it has a definite effect on how the shot's going to react. There could be obstacles out there in the form of a tree. In this case, we have trees right here off the end of the tee on the right. So we take those into consideration. There could be a hazard coming into play. Perish the thought. There is a boundary on the right in this case. There's a water hazard off to the left. It's not like those things aren't there.
I'm starting to really get nervous, you know.
Okay. So when you size up your target, when you appreciate your target out there, all this information comes back. Okay. Now what would you do next? Let's say you've assessed the target.
Suicide at this point.
Suicide is
The obstacles thing. I think a lot of us see all that instead of the positive aspect. I try, when I'm playing really well, I try to just envision that good spot you were talking about where I want it to land and block all that other stuff out. When I'm playing my best, I have a very positive attitude, and I try to not worry about the negatives. But of course, we know they're there, and they're always in the back of your head, and that's one of the problems is getting those out of your line of sight, I think.
So you've arrived at step 3 in this shot-making procedure, and that's precisely what you should be doing. In a very positive manner, you've elected to play a certain shot. And this becomes the solution to the problem. See, every golf shot that we play is a problem to be solved. And the problem is bound up in the lie of the ball and the choice and target. Step 1, step 2. But third, Mac Davis has pictured a shot. He's selected a certain shot that he chooses to play. And what do you do beyond choosing that shot? You've got to select a club, a certain club to play that shot with.
Right.
And beyond that, you need to actually envision the flight of the ball. Picture the flight of the ball doing precisely what you want it to do.
Right.
Relative to the target that you have in mind. Okay? So in the case of you off the tee, what do you prefer to do with a tee shot, ordinarily speaking?
Well, ordinarily I like to hit a slight draw and just hit it as solid.
Why do you like to hit a draw?
Well, because I get more roll, I get a little more overspin with it, and I can hit a little bit further with the draw, and I feel like I can control a draw a little better, especially if there's wind. I mean, I don't want that to turn into a hook, but I can control a draw a little better. I know most people say you can talk to a fade, but a hook won't listen. But I generally hit the draw better, and I get a little more overspin, as I said, a little more distance, and it's just a better feeling. I'm afraid I'm going to slice it, and I think fear is the factor there for me.
And fear in itself is a negative, right?
Yes, it is.
So you'd rather hang your hat on a positive.
Absolutely.
So you prefer to draw the ball, a little right to left action, because you feel comfortable. So the confidence element comes into play there. You feel a little more confident that you can play the draw than, say, the fade.
Right.
So given a choice, you'd likely go with the draw.
Right.
But beyond that, you'd have a clear picture of the ball drawing through the air just the way you wanted in relation to the target that you've selected, right?
Right.
All right, now you've programmed your shot. You've assessed the lie of the ball, you've defined your target, you've pictured the solution in the form of the shot that you want. Now, what's left to do?
Hit it.
You gotta hit it, but in order to hit it, and in order to hit it well, you need a swing thought
Right.
that triggers your entire swing mechanism
Absolutely.
and allows you to produce the shot that you've got in mind. At this point, we can't fake our way. We've got to produce. And in order to produce, you need some thought that triggers your entire swing mechanism. So you brought your swing with you to this point, and you've got a good golf swing.
Absolutely, and any more than one swing thought is more than anybody can handle. I've found that out over the years of playing golf. But I know you've got plenty of swing thoughts to use on a given day.
No, actually, one thought and one thought only. And that thought is the handle of this club.
Right.
You're going to swing the handle of this golf club in order to produce the shot that you have in mind. You have a picture of the ball going through the air precisely the way you want, from point A, where the ball lies, to point B, where the target is. And in order for your body to produce that shot, a swing thought, and the thought that I would suggest to you or anybody who wants to play better golf is the handle of that club. You're going to swing it from one side to the other. The reason being, everything you see the ball do is controlled by what you do with the handle of this club.
Right.
The distance the ball goes is determined by how much force you apply. The direction the shot goes is determined by where you extend the shaft of this club. But you're doing the extending with the handle of the club. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
It's okay.
Can I try one?
Please do.
Let's see if I can try one. See if I can hit one, just thinking about the handle.
So you've gone from your pre-shot routine into your setup, taken a practice swing of two. You've got your mind set on the target out there, and you have your shot pictured. And you did hit it. It had a slight fade, started down the left center portion of the fairway, then faded back. But it's close to the target that you had in mind, see? Now, that golf ball in flight, because you swung the handle of the club, went the distance you wanted because you applied the right force. It went the direction you wanted because you extended there. It had a slight fade because your sense of timing was such that you'd left your club a little bit open, which you did with the handle of the club.
Right.
And what else did you see it do? It went at a certain trajectory because of the descending stroke that you made with the handle of this club combined with the loft on the face of that club.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And the net result was what? By
Hit it
swinging
dead
the
center,
handle of the club,
295 yards.
swinging the handle of the club, you produced the shot that you envisioned in moving the ball from point A, where it lay, to point B, where you wanted it to come to rest.
Right.
So that's your little four-step procedure. And in so doing, like in the baseball jargon, you've covered all your bases. And the bases are those four. First, the ball. Second, the target. Third, the picture of the shot. And fourth, the swing thought that allowed you to produce that shot, which you have if you swing the handle of the club.
Well, that's a home run.
And it works. It works mechanically without failure. The only thing we can't eliminate is the human error. See, we're gonna make some human error, but we'll be effective with our swing, and our ball is going to wind up near the target most of the time, as you've so aptly demonstrated.
I have a golf friend, which will remain nameless, who is always thinking the worst that can happen. And I always tell him, I said, just think positive for once in your life. And he says, okay, I'm positive I'm going to miss the shot. And we know who that is.
And he likely does.
So it is important, I think, to think positive. So many terrible things can happen to your head just between the practice range and the shot you're about to make.
So in step 3, you have a clear picture of the ball behaving the way you like, and you're going to step up and swing as positively as you can relative to that clear picture. So you've blocked out all the negative thoughts at that time. You've substituted a positive for a negative. That's exactly what you've done in step 3. But what about step 4 now? We want a swing thought. Now,
Well, I get a million of them going through my head every time. I've got, well, in fact, my problem is saying, now which swing thought am I going to have on this swing, which I know is wrong.
Which swing shall we use today? We have 100 or so. Which swing thought shall we go with? I'd like to think that swing the handle is that thought, because everything you see the ball do is controlled by what you do with the handle of this club.
Right.
The distance, the direction, the curve of the ball, and the trajectory. And we've reduced the thought. We've reduced it to its simplest form. We have a thought instead of 2 thoughts, 10 thoughts, 100 thoughts, as most golfers have. Well, Mac, that's utopia. If you can reduce the swing thought to 1, that's absolute utopia. And that's where we've arrived with our little 4-step procedure that covers all the bases for us. So you've covered those 4 bases, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And you hit a home run.
And you hit a home run.
Hopefully.
All right. Shot making routine that we want to apply. First the lie, second the target, third the picture of the shot, fourth we're going to swing the handle of the club. But let's consider the lie of that ball. In this case, you've got a good lie with the ball sitting on top of the grass, but a little bit of a downslope coming into play. So you make an adjustment in your setup to accommodate the downhill lie. In this case, what would it be?
Well, I normally just try to move it back in my stance a little bit, because the swing's gonna fall behind center because of
That's the
downslope.
normal adjustment you'd make, maybe a little more weight on your forward leg.
Absolutely,
Okay.
more weight. They try to get the shoulders a little more even with the terrain.
Okay. And maybe because you move the ball back in the stance and you have a downhill lie, the trajectory of the shot may be affected somewhat, in that it's likely to be a lower trajectory
Right.
than from a level lie or an uphill lie.
In my case, it's likely to be a full-out skull.
No. You've got the shot that's called for here. All right, so let's see us go through the routine of playing this shot.
Okay.
You've inspected the lie first. You've considered the target second. Define the target with all the information coming. In this case, we have about an 85-yard shot. There's a little bit of a breeze coming from behind you, so it doesn't affect the shot that much. But you do have a slight elevation in the terrain, which is going to make the shot play a little bit longer than it might look. And the flag stick is pretty close to the front edge of the green, cut behind a bunker on the left side. So you've got to consider that bunker, certainly. And when you're assessing the target, that's exactly what you do. You pick your exact target, and you look at everything that intervenes in the form of distance, terrain, wind factor, obstacles, and hazards. So you've taken a look at that. Then third, what do?
envision the shot.
You picture the shot. You envision the shot doing precisely what you want it to do. In this sense, you're as positive as you can be because you've obliterated the negative possibilities by hanging your hat on the positive.
Right.
And now, fourth and finally, the swing thought, which is the handle of that club, which you have in your hands because you can't do anything else with it but swing it.
Swing the handle.
So you're going to swing it, but you're going to swing it according to the picture of the ball in flight that relates point A, the ball, to point B, the target. So I'm going to step back a moment and watch you perform that shot.
Okay.
And I have the utmost confidence in you because you have confidence in your ability to perform. Okay, so the direction of the shot was perfect. You caught the ball a little bit on the upswing, which made the ball do what? Made it go lower than it should have and perhaps a little farther than it should have.
Mm-hmm.
So the ball went beyond the hole, so we'll have to be a little bit more precise with our third shot coming back. Okay.
Would somebody get that ball out of the caddy's mouth, please? Let's try another one.
Please do. First consideration, the lie now. You
Right.
might find that ball in a divot lie. You might find it sitting on top of the grass. We know it's downhill somewhat, so we make that adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
But having considered the lie, you now picture the shot relative to the target you've chosen, and you swing the handle of your club accordingly. Good looking shot. Caught it again a wee bit on the upswing. So it went slightly beyond the hole. The ball wound up some 15 to 18 feet past the hole, a little on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
But being the good putter that you are, no problem. You'll roll that thing right in the hole.
It's a good thing I can putt, Pro. It really is. I'd be a much higher handicapper if I couldn't chip and putt.
Let's try another one now. Give it a little different lie, if you will.
You know what? I'm going to put this one in a divot so we can see what happens. I'll probably hit it better because I
do.
know I have to stay down with the shot.
Please do. All right.
This
so
is
there
in
it
a
is
divot.
in a bit of a divot lie. But that lie, even though it's in a divot, it could be a lot worse, couldn't it?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to try to hit down on this ball, like you said. Swing the handle.
You're going to catch it on the downswing.
And hit down on
You're going to touch the ground beyond the ball. That is a perfectly struck golf ball from a divot-type lie. The ball hit just beyond the hole and spun backward like the pros do.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what you are with that shot.
Thank you.
Very professional. Nicely done.
Thanks. You know, Pro, when I get in the rough, I've always had a tendency, I don't know why, my body just wants me to bring that club back hooded, and it's always bad. And I'm just wondering, what is the secret to getting the ball out of good, tough Kikuyu rough like this?
Okay, you're going to need to make a bigger swing, Mac, because the ball is down in the grass somewhat. So you need a bigger swing that gives you more leverage, more of the up and down part of your swing.
Mm-hmm.
But because you don't want to go too far relative to the target, perhaps a little slower swing. So a bigger swing, yet a slower tempo will accommodate this lie quite nicely. But like any other golf shot, the first consideration is the lie of that ball, and you're trying to catch it on the downswing as you swing your club from one side to the other. Mm-hmm. And so as not to hood the club as you described it, if you swing the club more over your right hip in the backswing, swing the handle of the club over the hips within the swing, the club will stay square to the arc of your swing rather than hooding. So let's see you step up and play this shot now. You have a fairly level lie here, so there's no real need to change the ball placement or the weight distribution. But because of the grassy lie, you're going to make a little bigger swing, yet a little slower swing there. But the target is in mind, and you've got the shot pictured the way you like. So swing the handle accordingly. Now there is a good-looking swing. It came up just a little bit short of the edge of the green simply because you didn't apply quite enough force. But the stroke was a good one and the contact was right. And because the swing was bigger, you got more club head onto the ball that time, even though you were swinging the handle of the club, mind you.
Now let's try again. Let me see if I can get that concept of swinging a little.
From one side to the
Longer.
other now, over the hips, that is. It extended just a shade to the left of the hole, but from the lie situation with a tightly tucked flagstick, that's a very good golf shot.
I'll take it.
One you'd be satisfied with. And being the good putter you are, you're looking forward to the next opportunity to hole that putt. In volume 3, shot